We celebrate on this day the beginning of the Eucharist, that which we at least try to celebrate every Sunday. Haven't for a year, but we try. The Eucharist is many things for us. One of the things it is not is a Passover meal. Certainly, if you follow the Gospel of John, which is who we read this evening, you hear that this meal takes place quite a ways before the Passover. The Passover would have, the Jewish day started at sundown. And so the Passover would not start until sundown the next day. This is the Last Supper. This is the last time Jesus will eat a meal with his disciples prior to the crucifixion. This is, for many of them, the last time they will have any kind of conversation with him at all. So it's an important meal, but not because it's a Passover meal. It's the last meal. For a long time, we celebrated it as just the last meal. But the Eucharist is so much more than that. The Eucharist is for us a foretaste of the heavenly banquet. That time, that table around which we will all sit. If we had read a passage from Isaiah instead of the passage from Exodus, we would hear about the feast of rich wines and the finest marrow of the bone and all those good things that are waiting for us at the table of God in the kingdom. It is that meal which we celebrate more than we do the Last Supper when we come to this table to receive the Eucharistic feast and to give thanks. But there is something about the original Passover that we need to pay attention to. And that is the way that people were told to eat it. They were told to eat it standing up, in a hurry, with their sandals on and their staff in their hand, ready to run, ready to go right away from that Passover meal out into the wilderness that would follow them. We're not going to run out into the wilderness, although I know many a preacher would make the case that that is the wilderness out there. But it is also the world we live in, and it is not all wilderness. But we are supposed to leave here with that same sense of urgency to go out there, to take what we gain in this Eucharistic meal, which we will share, and go out into the world proclaiming the gospel, proclaiming to others that which is so ordinary for us, that which we think is just the way things are supposed to be. And so many people look at us and go, well, why on earth would you think that? And you say, well, because I've been to the Lord's table. I've stood and received the blessing of Jesus. I have known God moving in my life in ways that I could not imagine happening. Things happen in our lives, and people say, well, wasn't that interesting? Or what a coincidence? Or weren't you lucky? When truly what we know has happened is that we have been gifted. We have been gifted by the one true God to do and to be able to do things that we never thought possible, to say what we need to say just when we need to say it, and afterwards we wonder where those words came from. Coming together for this Eucharistic feast, which Jesus starts with his disciples on that last evening, which Paul reports in his letter, you'll notice it's not in John, is the way we prepare ourselves, the way we open ourselves up to receive the body and blood of the Christ, to take in that which is life-giving for us so that we might give life to others, so that when we leave this place, we leave knowing that God is leaving with us and that we are going to walk together until the next time we can renew that solemn relationship at this table. It's why there's such an argument in the church over whether or not this table should be open to everybody or whether we should make sure that everybody's baptized before they come to the table. I don't know what your stance on that is, or even if you have a particular position on that, but I think Jesus would tell us If someone comes and asks for the bread and the wine, we don't have any valid reason to say, and why should we give that to you? Because Jesus didn't say that to us. Jesus didn't say to the disciples, you know, you guys just really haven't gotten the word. You're confused, you're not undisciplined, you don't seem to know what's going on, you don't want to hear what's going to happen this week, and so you're already in trouble. And so maybe we just shouldn't have this meal. Maybe we should wait until you're ready.
Are you done?
Maybe on a beach somewhere we'll have breakfast. And maybe then you'll have figured it out, and so it'll be okay then, and we'll call that a Eucharist.
Are you done?
Jesus sets no boundaries on the way that anyone is to reach his love, the way that any of us are to be brought into the kingdom, to have that taste of the heavenly banquet, which will come to us one day. Years ago, when I was working in Johnson City, Tennessee, I had a family come to me and ask if I would do the funeral for their mother. And she had no connection, as far as I knew, to St. John's, the church where I was. And I said, well, I'm happy to do that, but why St. John's? And they said, well, our mom started the Suzuki program here in Johnson City, and this is where she started it. Was in the basement of St. John's, in the Sunday school rooms. And it's always had a very special place in her life. Now, she was a member of the giant Baptist church next door, but they wanted the service at St. John's because this place meant so much to their mother. And because it meant so much to her, it meant a great deal to them. And they wanted the whole burial office, including the Eucharist. Now, I don't know how well you are in your denominations, but you Baptists don't take communion very often. They prepare for several weeks in advance. They do it quarterly. Maybe some high Baptist churches do it more often than that. But it's not an everyday ritual for them like it is for us. It's not something that they are that intimately familiar with. And of course, they don't drink wine. So I said, well, okay, we can do the Eucharist and we'll have wine, but I'll explain to people that they don't need to take the wine. They're fine to just take the bread and how to do that. And so I did. And I talked to them about the fact that we would be joining at this table with the woman who had just died. That she was already seated at the heavenly banquet, and this was our chance to sit there with her. Every single person took communion. There were 250 people there. Maybe 25 of them were Episcopalians or Methodists or Presbyterians. The rest were Baptist. It's a powerful thing to do, to open ourselves up and to invite Jesus into our lives through his body and his blood, and to do it as often as we are able to come together and do that as a community, because then it opens us all up to one another, to our world, and certainly to the God who has loved us so much that tomorrow will happen, and Sunday will happen, and 50 days later, Pentecost will happen, and we will be renewed by the body and the blood of our Savior. Wait just a minute, Anthony. I don't think we need that one again. Yeah. Wait till she gets the bulletin up. If you would stand